Hey everybody, Adam back. Adam back? Hey everybody, Adam here, and I am back, like this, with another, and the last, oh my god. Hey everybody, Adam here, and welcome back to the last June-Hughes of 2022. Thank you for joining me all month for this. It's been a fun ride, and this one's gonna be fun too. It's gonna be pretty long, maybe. I don't know. I kind of had a lot to say about this movie. But first, before we even get into Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, let's go to our sponsor.
Now, when we fought, you had that eye of the tiger, man, the edge.
Hey everybody, my name is Adam and I am part of the Cinemadness podcast. I'm here to tell you about some exciting news. We're making a movie. As I've mentioned on the show numerous times, I am obsessed with the films of 1982, and I want to share my love of those years with all of you. So we are taking a deep dive into 75 movies, all from 1982, to show that this was an important year, or maybe the most important year in pop culture cinema. Movies like Blade Runner, The Thing, E.T., Poltergeist, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and many, many more. Interviewing cast and crew from these movies, as well as fans and also film experts. We are currently crowdfunding for equipment and logistics while in development, and when we are ready for pre-production, we will get all of you involved too. That means names in the credits, special goodies, perhaps posters and art. So, if you are as excited about this as we are, and really, why shouldn't you be? Check out our campaign at cinemadnesspodcast.com/1982themovie. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at 1982themovie. So come along with us and let's celebrate cinema. Released in 1987, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles stars Steve Martin as Neil Page, who is just trying to get from New York to, big surprise, Chicago, to meet his family for Thanksgiving. And it should be easy to just fly from one big city to another, but after a chance encounter with John Candy's Del Griffith, getting home becomes more and more of a hassle. Now, not only was this the first John Hughes movie I've covered that wasn't a teen movie, whether it be a drama or a comedy, this is a full-on adult. This was my first John Hughes movie I remember seeing that wasn't a teen movie in my life. It starred all adults, and it was rated R, but it still had that John Hughes magic, which we're going to go into. Much like the stories he wrote for National Lampoons, this movie was made for adults. But they're for adults that wanted to giggle like children and not have raunchy, cheap laughs. It was more I don't want to say more refined than a Porky's, but it was more refined than a Porky's movie.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Now that I'm an adult, I can relate more to the jokes, and the humor is different as an adult, and it's even funny. It's hard to describe, but as you can see, I did my best.
Your best.
So to kind of describe this movie, it's like if the Odd Couple went on a road trip, but they didn't know they were taking this trip together. Neil, which is played by Steve Martin, he's clean, but he's really wound tight. And Del, by John Candy, he's all messy and all loosey-goosey. But that makes them perfect movie partners. In fact, they were so perfect that both Martin and Candy, rest in peace, John Candy, they have both said that this movie was their favorite roles that they each played. Steve Martin, to this day, still thinks this is his best role, and he had the most fun making this role. And to the day he died, John Candy said the exact same thing. And you can see where they're coming from. You can see two thespians who, they just get to have these character archetypes, and they just get to play around with them, and they were just so good with each other that I had to do some digging to see if any of the stuff was improvised, and it wasn't. It was all scripted. And that's another nod to John Hughes and how great he is at writing a story. This whole movie was scripted except one scene, and we'll get to that. Forget it. Let's go to that scene now. This scene, probably the most memorable scene in the movie. When you bring up planes, trains, and automobiles, this is probably usually the first thing that pops up when people talk about it. And it's also the scene that made the MPAA change the rating from PG to R. Steve Martin interacting with a rental car clerk, played by the brilliant Hughes alum Edie McClurg. See, there wasn't any scripted lines for McClurg's intro when she was on the phone. So she took aspects of her whole life and improvised the whole phone conversation. And when you watch the movie, the scene is so much bigger than that little phone call. But in that one take, her conversation about not being able to cook, burning the marshmallows, and even the gobble gobble, gobble gobble. That was all McClurg, and it was absolutely brilliant. And that's not even that's not even the memorable part of the movie, but that was her setting up this character that cares more about the cooking than she does of her customers. That's where I'm getting at, customers. And that's really what brings in the whole customer service aspect of this brilliant scene. And McClurg says to this day, people on the street come up to her and ask him to tell them, "You're fucked." Could you imagine that being your claim to fame? That and pulling pencils out of your hair? I remember seeing the scene for the first time as a preteen and laughing like crazy. And I was seeing it with my parents. It was actually the first movie. Yeah, it was the first movie I saw on Laserdisc. It was at my stepbrother's house, and he had like big speakers and everything. So it was a whole like theater set up in his place, and it was the first movie I actually got to see on a Laserdisc. And I was on the floor laughing at the car rental scene. Probably because it was the forbidden language and the excess of the F word just made it funnier and funnier and funnier. That scene was also scripted, but the phone conversation wasn't. And they just worked so well off each other, and it was just such an absolute perfect scene. So going back to Steve Martin and John Candy's chemistry, it was undeniable that they were destined to make this picture. I really couldn't imagine anyone else doing it, and with it being written, directed by Hughes, we all know by now that Hughes' magic works. And it even gets performances from actors that are seasoned. I always talk about how he got great performances from, say, Anthony Michael Hall or Molly Ringwald when it was their first roles, it was their early roles, and how he just let them be themselves. And this was no different. I don't know what Hughes does to get the trust and the drive to be the best actors they can be, but he did that, and he brought out a comedic performance from these two comedy giants that I've yet to see them top, and I believe that's why they call it their best roles that they've ever done, because it was basically Steve Martin and John Candy at the top of their game. That was the peak performance of either of them comedically. And that's saying something. This was 1987. But with it being John Hughes, it's not all comedy. It still has that John Hughes brand of heart and drama peppered in as well. The scene where they have to share a motel room in Wichita, and Steve Martin has to lay down this verbal smackdown on Candy's character, is absolutely brutal. He just stands there and takes this abuse from a guy he never met, and in his mind, he got him a cab, he got him a room. He could have been sleeping on the floor in the hotel room, or in the airport. But in Dell's mind, he really just gave him this opportunity, and Steve Martin's just laying into him just because he's a slob, and he's loud when he's in bed, and he just wants to sleep, and it's a really hard scene to watch sometimes. It depends on the mood that you're in. Sometimes you side with Steve Martin because you know he's on his last nerve. He didn't want to be stuck in Wichita. He just wants to be with his family. He was just riddled with bad luck since he walked out of his company's door, and sometimes you're on Candy's side and you're like, whoa, buddy, just hang on. I helped you out. And this is how you thank me? And the absolute brilliant and emotional, honest, and heartfelt reply from Candy is just wholly moving. Mixed with Hughes' veteran Ira Newborn score, the scene is one of John Hughes' most standout pieces in his portfolio.
You want to hurt me? Go right ahead if it makes you feel any better. I'm an easy target. Yeah, you're right. I talk too much. I also listen too much. I could be a cold-hearted cynic like you. But I don't like to hurt people's feelings.
It's so good. I would love to do just that scene on stage. Actually, no, I'd like to do the whole movie on stage. It's such a great, intimate piece of the two characters, even though they're traveling, even though it's got, it goes from city to city, to place, to vehicle to vehicle. It can be done on the stage. It's that good. It's like The Breakfast Club. I would like to do a stage play of both films because of the intimacy of the main characters. It's just, you're just locked in, you're laser focused on these two characters, no matter what they're doing, no matter where they are. The background could be whatever. They're just so perfect together. Not just in comedy, but in drama as well. Chemistry. It's fantastic. So if you couldn't tell by now, I'm still a huge fan of this movie. So I don't have to do do I still love it? Because that would be just a dumb question at this point. Yes, I still love it. And there's so much to love about this movie. It has heart, it has laughs, it has hard punches to the gut with emotions, as well as a tearful happy ending. And I know movies these days just don't do that anymore. I sound so old. Movies in my day had happy endings. But sometimes you want a happy ending to a movie, especially a comedic romp, and especially one that has a tragic character like Del Griffith, and you don't realize how tragic the character is until you just you start putting the pieces together at the same time as Steve Martin starts putting the pieces together. That he's alone. His wife doesn't fit in the picture anymore. His kids aren't in the picture anymore. He just travels from state to state selling shower curtain rings. And it's heartbreaking. And it's also heartwarming that he finds this friend that, even though they don't get along half the time, he makes the best of it. And that's the thing about Del Griffith. He makes the best out of every situation, no matter how bad it is. And he fights for that situation. Like that scene in the motel room, it is just absolutely amazing. And when he tells him, or when Steve Martin tells him that everything since they met has gone wrong, and he's trying very nicely to say that we should just part ways because nothing's working out for us. Del, at the same time, as broken and distraught as he is because he thought he found this friend, he's like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to be angry for a bit, but I'm going to go with it. And that just, oh my God, these characters they're just top form John Hughes. Hughes was hitting on every single cylinder in the late 80s, with Some Kind of Wonderful and Pretty in Pink and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and coming next year, She's Having a Baby. He's finally hitting that perfect balance of humor and drama. It's not just a humor movie. It's not just a drama movie. He's getting that balance, and it's absolutely amazing to see his evolution hit this moment where it's a flat out comedy, and at the same time your heart is breaking and you're feeling emotions, and that's cinema, that's drama, that's what makes me love going to the movies. There's movies like this. As silly as it sounds, as silly as Planes, Trains, and Automobiles sounds, it is a fantastic example of the way to celebrate cinema. And as you know, I like to celebrate cinema. Now, talking about Hughes, I have a feeling he enjoyed this movie as well, as much as we did, as well as he did making it, because he wrote the script in 3 days. 3 days. And the first draft was a hefty 145 pages. And if you ask people about screenwriting and all that kind of stuff, they say, a page is roughly a minute. So, that's 145 minutes. The film was pushing, the original cut of the film was pushing 4 hours. And God, would I love to see that cut. Now, Hughes wrote this movie after flying from New York to Chicago and ended up getting diverted to Wichita. And that's a great thing I admire from Hughes, is that he writes what he knows. You're told any type of writing class, a writer writes and write what you know. Those are the two things. And it's drilled into writers' heads. You write what you experienced, and then you form a story about that. And he has the imagination to take one small inconvenience and turn it into an entire cohesive plot. That being said, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is not the tropiest of Hughes movies, but it doesn't mean it's light on his style. The comedy, like I talked about, is there. The emotions, like I mentioned, is there. There's even a quick scene where Steve Martin's wife is waiting for him to come home. She's laying in bed, and when you're laying in bed and you can't sleep, you have the TV on. Well, she had the TV on, and it was playing She's Having a Baby. Which, like I said, we'll be doing in June-Hughes 2023. That's it for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I could talk a lot about this movie, just in the little nuances of every scene. I could dissect this movie apart and just be great. Oh, the music! Oh my God, the music is so good. Unlike the John Hughes teen movies, it doesn't have the popular music. It has music for older people, in the 80s, the mess around and that kind of stuff. The stuff that John Candy was dancing to in the car. And it's travel music. It's the best way I can explain it. It's music that two middle-aged men in the 1980s traveling the country would listen to, and it reflects to their style personally. Like I said, Dell was dancing around to the mess around, and Steve Martin's character, Neil, he wanted to sing 3 coins and a fountain, and it just reflects on their character so much, and it's so great, and it doesn't need the pop rock music that the teen movies did. And that was another change when you watch an adult Hughes movie compared to a teen Hughes movie. And it's great. But even Ira Newman's score, who was Hughes' composer since 16 Candles. And you can see, I never talk about Ira Newman's score. Newborn. Wow, Ira Newborn score. That's the guy. Scorn? Ira Newborn score. Wow, that's really hard to say. You try it. Ira Newborn score. See? I can't even do it. You can see in the past 7 or so videos that I've done on John Hughes, I don't even mention him. And this movie, he takes the score on the same journey the characters do. The one piece in the score that stands out to me is Steve Martin's walk from the empty parking space where you're supposed to get his car back to the rental car kiosk in the airport. And I'm so passionate about this movie, I keep messing up my lines, but I'm not gonna cut them out, because this is the real me, and I can't get a better reaction than the real me instead of the scripted me. I do have notes here. You can't see them because they're magic notes. They're not magic. They're on the screen in front of me. Hence the white in my face. Anyway, what's amazing about this one piece of music is it's filled with record scratches and Steve Martin voice samples from earlier in the movie.
You're messing with the wrong guy!
sounds like a song by the group The Art of Noise. And that was impressive. Actually, impressive is a perfect word for this movie, period. The acting, the music, the humor, and just the journey of these two strangers is an impressive piece of work. To me, it's the perfect Odd Couple road movie. And it's definitely a big inspiration for the films of, say, David Spade and Chris Farley. We wouldn't have Tommy Boy or Black Sheep if it wasn't for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And the only other Thanksgiving movie I can think of is another road movie named Dutch with Ed O'Neill and a very young Ethan Embry, also written by June-Hughes. So we might cover that in June-Hughes 2023. We'll have like a Thanksgiving connection video. I don't know. We'll see what happens, right? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a movie for, and I say this with complete confidence, everyone. Well, anyone who doesn't mind very mild adult themes and one scene containing 18 uses of the word fuck. If there's no issue there, the people who like comedy will love it. The people who love character-driven stories will love it. People who just want something fun on in the background will love it. In my opinion, there is no wrong time to watch this movie. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe there could be a wrong time. Maybe like during a birth or a wedding or a funeral. Any public gathering probably is not a good time to watch any movie, really. But in those parameters, there's no wrong time to watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And I'm so glad I got to go watch this again and get to share my thoughts with you. And this was the perfect final movie for June-Hughes 2022. So with that, thank you so much for watching. And thank you for joining me in another fun month of June-Hughes for this year. I enjoy doing these themed months. If you can think of another fun month pun for an event, let me know in the comments. Also, let me know what you think of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Maybe I'm building it up too much, but I saw so much more in this last viewing than I was like, okay, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's that funny movie with Steve Martin and John Candy where they go on a crazy adventure. You know, there's deeper things to it. Let me know. Let me know if I'm going crazy, just gushing and loving on this movie. And also remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We need to show the dumb YouTube algorithm that we exist, and liking and subscribing does that, and it also helps us grow. But you also get to know when we release new videos, which is happening more and more now that we're putting our audio stuff on YouTube. We have the actual podcast that we're putting on the YouTube. We have our video discussions that we have with all of our social media contributors. Yeah, YouTube is becoming a good haven for the entire Cinemadness podcast. So go ahead and subscribe. We love doing this for you. I love doing these videos for myself. If I was the only subscriber, I'd still do it. If it was just one subscriber, Adam, that would be enough for me to keep doing these movies and just watch myself. Like, hey, look, I'm on the TV. Yeah, that's the kind of life I lead. Anyway, if you love these talks about movies, if you love to hear us talk about movies, or if you even just like to hear people talk about movies, make sure you do tune in to Cinemadness, the podcast. It's fun. It's longer. They're longer, deeper discussions about movies, movie series, like sequels and stuff, and actor profiles and director profiles and genre profiles. And we just have a really good time. And you can find it anywhere, pretty much anywhere audio podcasts are streaming, now including Amazon and Audible. So it's easy to find. You just type in Cinemadness Podcast, and there we are, talking your ear off about movies and laughing and having a really good time. So thanks for watching. And you can tell what I'm going to say next because it's the epitome of what this video was, Always celebrate cinema.